Hey everyone, welcome to the call today. My name is Amber Victoria. I am a digital activist and I'm so glad that you're joining us. So today we are talking with my friend and my mentor, Jeffrey Kaplan. Jeff is the director of Venture Asheville, and he's a longtime entrepreneur and startup consultant who does so much for not only our local community here in Western North Carolina, but entrepreneurs everywhere are affected by him and his work. So today, you're in luck because we are going to be talking about LinkedIn and how you can use LinkedIn to really help just like boost your standing wherever you are professionally right now in this unique time. So whether you're familiar with using LinkedIn or if it's something that you have been thinking, oh my goodness, maybe I should set up a LinkedIn profile, but you haven't yet, don't worry, we got you covered. We are going to talk about general best practices and really get to learn from Jeff and his experience. So make sure to go ahead and comment if you have any questions on the video, wherever you're watching it from, and we will get back to you. And for those of you who are on the live call today, you can use the little chat feature to type in a question, and we'll get to that at the end. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Jeff, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience and what you're doing right now,
Sure.
working from home?
Thanks so much. Thanks, Amber. It's really kind introduction. And it's been such a pleasure getting to know you since living in Asheville. Probably the first people I met in the startup scene here. As I think we first started talking as like a professional contact doing I think a startup crawl or something, right? It was the first time we
Yeah,
interacted.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a couple years ago. That's great. So now I'm working from my dining room. I don't have a home office. I'm in my dining room. So
looks
yeah,
great.
as we're all adapting to our new normal. Um, hasn't changed so much for Venture Asheville. I'll explain why, kind of what we do. We are a resource for startups, so new businesses that have really high growth potential and founders with the ambition to match it. So these are all generally small businesses that don't want to stay small businesses. They want to be the next big business in our region. And so that's what Venture Asheville is here for. We fit in to the economic development strategy, which is part of the EDC of Asheville-Buncombe County, as well as, which is a private-public partnership between the city, the county, and the Asheville Area Chamber of Commerce. So that's how we're kind of organized and where we fit into kind of the landscape here in the area.
Awesome.
And what
Thank
we do is we have three core initiatives. We have a mentorship program called Elevate, which has been going on for, I think, nearly 5 years. We have a couple forms of financing, which is becoming a very interesting topic now, given we have an angel investor group, which angel investors and venture capital and private equity everywhere, people are kind of, I don't want to say panicking, but no one's like cool. No one's
Right.
like relaxed about it right now. Everyone's, I think, certainly tightening the belts a bit. So it's harder to raise money as a startup. It's harder to get someone to write a check right now. But again, we're 10 days into this quarantining, so or self-isolation, social distancing. So we'll see how things shake out in the next month. It's too soon to really make any projections. We do a micro grant program, which I'm really excited about. That's going to be released probably next, whenever this is all over. We're going to have our big party. We're going to invite people out. We're going to award $25,000 to 5 new businesses and $5,000 grants. And we're really excited about the timing of that, as I think our community really is really going to need it then. And then we do programs and events throughout the year. We just came back from our startup road trip, which is really good timing that we got back a day before things started shutting down. We have the Venture 15, which is our version of the Inc. 5000. It's a local ranking of the fastest growing startups. And we also just do tons of tracking and monitoring the metrics of the health of our ecosystem. So in the past few years, it's been this great upswing, right? Every year we have, growth in revenue and investment in jobs in the startup space. It's been really great. It'll be interesting to see what happens at the end of this year in December when we get these metrics again and see how our startups are doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing what y'all are working on and what you've been building. So now that you know a little bit more about Jeff and what they do at Venture Asheville, I'm sure that you see why I invited Jeff to share his resources with us today. So from my experience, Jeff, you are the person who every time I go on LinkedIn, I see what you are sharing, I see what you're doing in the community, and I see how you are engaging in your network and with people who are doing work, in real time in the area online. And so that's really awesome to see. And so that's why I wanted to reach out to you. And I'm so glad that you're here to share your experience. So I guess let's jump right into the
Mhm.
first prompt that I want to ask you today, which is, will you tell us a little bit about, like what is LinkedIn? And I know it's been changing over the last few years and Microsoft owns it now, correct?
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. So what is it? What do you feel like are the most useful functionalities of LinkedIn that we can really like benefit from today, and just have like a little discussion about that?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is, essentially it's a social network, right? At its most basic definition, right? Social network, with the twist that it's really just not just for it's really business minded. So I use it. I think there's a couple of key ways to use it. It's like your personal resume is on there, right? Your profile page, and I'll show my screen in a moment. You can see. So I use it really for um, establishing who I am in the business community, right? So this is very different than my Facebook and my Instagram profiles, which are very personal. And um, for example, I meet somebody at a networking event and they want to connect. I don't need a business card. Just find me on LinkedIn. Like I'll have your contact information that way. I'll be able to message you. I can see what you've done, who you're connected to. It's even more effective to me than having a business card. Um, but I really try hard to keep it solely focused on business topics, things about Venture Asheville. It's a way to keep in touch with other startups or investors and really my circle of things. I know recruiters love it, and they're probably probably one of the folks who pay the most in the premium packages for LinkedIn, and for job placement, because when you have your resumes on there, right, and you have all the um, job postings on there, it's really easy to be matching folks up. So recruiters is really big on LinkedIn. That's another use for it. And the other is, I think, networking. And so one more, and that's being a thought leader. So LinkedIn gives you kind of, I think, four key, the way I use LinkedIn in four ways. Let me say it that way: my personal profile, jobs, networking, and being a thought leader. And that's why you probably see, I write articles. I try to do it as much as I can. Maybe once a month, I'm putting some long form article out there, or I'm sharing posts, or I'm sharing news about our startups. Or I'm connecting with folks. Um, so I don't know, you want to start with the profile? Where do you want to start, Amber?
Yeah,
Talk
sure.
me through
That
this.
sounds
Okay.
great. And just to sort of touch on something that you mentioned, I think it's really awesome and interesting how you're including thought leadership in that space, in addition to, general networking and professional development, like how thought leadership really ties into that. And I feel like,
Hmm.
you saying that is really helping me to recognize that that's one of the main reasons that I find LinkedIn so engaging, is because I can get on there and filter based on my interests in terms of companies and people who are doing the work that I really admire. And I like to practice this thing that's called modeling. Modeling in terms of finding someone who is doing something that you want to be doing, or something that
Hmm.
some kind of work that you want to be doing in line with, and then recognizing what they have done in terms of actual accomplishments or skill sets that they have, and then actually working to model that behavior. And I love LinkedIn for that, because as an aspiring thought leader, I feel like that is something that I can do, is to find other thought leaders and
Hmm.
and really get like a nitty gritty, up close and personal insight into their professional development, and try to model after that. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that the content you put on LinkedIn, I think it has more staying power than if I just wrote a blog or if I was posting on Medium. Um, because I mean, this is your professional brand, right? So you really got to lay on with that,
Yeah,
and
interesting.
it stays. I think the lasting power is, I got an email last week from a guy who said, "Oh, I found your MI ecosystem blog, your article on LinkedIn, and we're having struggle with that in our ecosystem. Are you free to chat?" Like, great, happy to talk.
Yeah.
Um, it's because of the article that, and it just lives on your profile. So people click on your profile. What have you done? Oh, they see your articles and your posts. So, for
Yeah.
example, here's my profile. And an early hack I think everybody wants to do is get over 500 connections, because then you get the 500 plus sign, and it's not a like the exact numbers. It's just kind of, oh, okay, 500 plus here, whatever. Um, you want to have a good bio. Mine's pretty short. If I was job seeking, I would really want to expand this. And when I've talked to recruiters, what they do is, if you apply for a job, say I was applying for some data analyst job because I felt like I was really good in Excel and I'm a history background, history major in college. So I know how to collect data, I know how to whatever. If you don't have those keywords of the job you're applying for on your profile, you will get passed. I mean, the first cut, it's not about your cover letter, it's not about your connection. It's, do the keywords match the profile of the job posting? If not, you're not going to get looked at. And I think that a lot of most recruiters are pretty open about that. You can see first on this right side, which is interesting, who do people view before and after looking at your profile. So if you're looking for kind of like, if this is a housing market, your comps in a way are here, and you can understand. I understand some of them, people I work with, people have similar roles to people I've worked for, people in similar roles at other companies. Articles and posts is your history here, and that's where, again, people get that kind of staying power. And here in the experience, we really want, if you're a job seeker, you want to expand on this. And listen, this can change. You can edit this stuff anytime. So it's like your resume. Every time you apply for a job, you want your resume to be a little bit tailored. You do the same thing with your profile. It's not like edit history, so recruiters can't go back and say, hey, he changed his title, or maybe you expanded your whatever it was, your definitions or your role, your responsibilities. It's not a big deal. If you definitely put your education here if you went to a school, and I'll show you why in a moment. And then the skills and recommendations are all good stuff. So here's what I use LinkedIn the most. I look up angel investors all the time. And the way I do it is I type it in the search box. And I wonder what angel investors are in Atlanta. So we just went to Atlanta and we invited a bunch of folks out. So I want to see what angel investors are in Atlanta. Okay. Let me add another filter. Let me see which, I'm a Florida Gator, pretty proud of being a Florida Gator. So let's see who is in Atlanta. That's an angel investor. But also went, come on, son of a gun. So there we go. Who's also a fellow Gator. Because if I can message them and suddenly I have an in, right? Suddenly I have some reason to be reaching out. I can message these folks. Hey, Karen, so excited to meet you on LinkedIn. I'm also a fellow Gator. I'm coming to Atlanta next week for a pitch event. I'd love to meet you. But that becomes a really reasonable and personal cold call, essentially, right? It's essentially what it is, right? If I'm reaching out like that. And I do this a lot when we go somewhere, we're trying to bring folks out to an event, looking for a mentor. You do the same thing with mentors, right? Maybe with a great school or certain job titles, you really got to use your filters to find the right folks. It's like LinkedIn's like going to a networking event. Like everyone's there for the same reason. Like we're all here to meet people and talk and get to know each other and see how we can help each other out. If you don't have that attitude, like just move on, go to the next person. There's plenty of fish in the sea here. So I really strongly recommend anytime you go to message with to connect to somebody, if it's a cold, something like this, add a personal note. I get LinkedIn connections all the time from all over the place, from founders all over the world. And if they just put a personal note in there, I'm much more willing to click accept, or even just, hey, Jeff, I got a pitch deck. I'd love you to review it sometime. I'm happy to accept the invitation and review that, because it's a little more personal than just the blank connecting without a note.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting in terms of finding that personal connection. I hadn't really made that, put two and two together there in terms of the search filters. So really neat.
The search filters are really phenomenal. I mean, you can even go by who's in Atlanta from University of Florida that also works at Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola's got one of the biggest employers there, right? Let's see, if I want to get a meeting with somebody at Coca-Cola, how would I do that? This can't be, oh, I'm taking angel investor out. I just want people. It's gonna let me do it now. How do I search? Apply, give me anything?
That's the only thing that's not my favorite about LinkedIn is the user interface. Well, the user experience, I guess, is just a little behind other social networks, but I think it's completely justified in the way that they're their
Mm-hmm.
vision for the future of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sometimes I will get on some kind of screen and I'm like, I have no idea how to do what I want to do right now, but it just takes a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look at
So if
that.
I so if I wanted to if I was applying for a job, at Coca-Cola, here's a way to get your in. If it wasn't Florida, if it was Georgia Tech or whatever school, or maybe it's not even a school at all, maybe it's some other interest, or maybe I'm looking for somebody in a hiking group, or because they have some of those, um, or other groups. So for example, we've got this Venture Asheville group, which is really not super active, and it's used, I guess, really for a lot more self-promotion is what we find. I think that's okay. And people post, here's my article recently, here's an event I'm doing, here's information about coronavirus for you. So, the more groups here, I think we have an MIT VMS user group. That's what our mentorship program is based on. And this might be a good way for people to be organizing now in coronavirus, right? So matching up business needs and business providers who can get together. Maybe LinkedIn's a way to do that. So it's really about filtering signal through noise, right? There's so much noise right now. I'm in 10 new Slack groups about stuff regarding coronavirus. My Facebook feed is full of everything from individuals complaining about lines to get tested, to news about the Trump administration, to a post about here's a webinar I should be attending from the chamber on LinkedIn to get much more focused.
Yeah, okay, great. So for everyone out there listening, for everyone who's looking to, get more involved or beef up your LinkedIn profile, to reiterate what Jeff has shared so far with us as, a couple of really important and fundamental steps to take would be, number one, Jeff, you definitely recommend boosting that number of connections that you have. So would you say it's the case that even if you don't personally know 500 people on LinkedIn yet, finding that connection and that what it is that actually does lend to a genuine connection, that's the way to go in terms of connecting with people.
Yeah, so what's an example to do that? So let's say I want to find people let's go with Asheville, and I'm gonna want to, like, I know right now there's a whole bunch of tech companies hiring. It seems like everyone's like freezing or laying people off, but a bunch of tech companies hiring. So I'm gonna search for that kind of skill or something like, let's see if software is on here. And you could just really start messaging these folks, look into their companies. Like Nomadic is a great software development company. Start messaging them saying, like, hey, I'd love to get to know you and about your company. I want to break into this space. Can I take out for coffee sometime? Nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, this is why LinkedIn exists. It is to build your professional network.
Awesome. Great. And so then I also want to reiterate something that you said, which was news to me in terms of, from your experience doing some recruiting, it is your profile that a recruiter will land on first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your, description or your bio that seems like the first next point of contact before they look at your job experience and before they ask for your resume. Is that right?
Yeah, so put yourself in the recruiter's shoes, right? You post a job on LinkedIn and you're gonna get so many applicants. So let's go. So right now, this is pulling jobs it thinks I would be a good fit for based on my profile, right? Right here, based on my profile. So I would make a terrible director at Habitat for Humanity. I would. um, you can see this is really interesting stuff here, right? How I compare to people 49 people have already applied. It's got 330 views. Get more information if I activated premium, which might be worth the expense. You're really dead set on a job. And it might be good to even go through the process to create a fake job for yourself. Right? What if you spent the money? Think about a sales experiment, right? Or a kind of thought experiment. Spend a little money. I don't know what it costs to post a job. It can't be that much, right? You post your job, you go through the process, and then let applications come in, and you'll see what the recruiter sees. So I would bet that LinkedIn is trying to sell themselves as having some kind of algorithm, proprietary software that's going to get the best candidates in front of you. So they're probably matching keywords and profiles in your job descriptions before you ever see the list of names, right? It's probably doing a lot of legwork for you. So it could be really interesting to go through that experience.
Yes, that's very interesting. And also to clarify, so for those of us out look in the job market right now who are looking for, a contract versus a full or part-time job, is that
Mm,
is that a function that you can filter through as well if you're more of a freelancer?
that's a good question. How would I search that? Huh.
I think I
Maybe
came across it the
that.
other day when I was searching for a job, when those little filters came up at the top, similar to searching for people. But um, yeah, let's try that
Cool.
because that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then, yeah, okay. So you can filter by contract as well.
Hmm.
Neat. So do you feel like how do you know those keywords? Like, can you talk a little bit about that in
Yeah.
terms of a good tactic for finding the keywords to include in your profile
You
description
just got to
of job seeking?
turn it around, right? So you look at what you're applying for. So I'm looking at this job right here, and I'm gonna be I'm gonna be putting keywords, whatever my last job was, and what is this for? Retail something, media planner. But we know it's in the retail market. I'm putting e-commerce, integrated branding experience, shopper experience, retail strategy. I'm gonna use what the job description is prescribing in my profile.
Yeah, that's great. I find that, I know that I've received that type of advice before,
Hmm.
in terms of LinkedIn, and also simply reflecting, a resume, PDF, or whatever that is. And I find that people tend to have a hard time accepting that piece of advice because, sometimes people feel like they don't want to come across as disingenuous or
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
overly selly or what have you. But the what I've seen work and what you're sharing right now, it seems, Jeff, is that it's only helping to decrease any cognitive dissonance between you and the person who's reviewing your skills, right? So the more that you can really get on the same page in terms of the language that you're
Hmm.
using, with the language of whoever it is in the HR department or the recruiter, it's as long as you're not lying about your skill, you
Right.
actually are experienced in this. It's really your responsibility as a job seeker to do what you can to use the same language as the people who are wanting to hire you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We don't lie. If you don't have any experience in e-commerce, don't say you have experience in e-commerce, but can you justify the work you were doing as e-commerce? So you ran an Etsy shop. I think that's e-commerce, so incorporate that in there, nothing wrong with that. And truthfully, what's going to happen in our job market, we're hearing about record layoffs already. It's about to get super competitive. So you got to take kind of every advantage you can. Still, like, honestly, right? With morality, um, there's nothing wrong with tweaking your profile. But you think about, I think it's like 80% of jobs are found by word of mouth, which is someone saying, "Hey, I need a really good developer. You got somebody? Who do you recommend?" "Oh, so and so just got laid off. You need to contact them." Right? Is that immoral? No, but it's just using your network. So you got to expand your network. Find people at, for example, the integer group. If I wanted this job, I'll be looking up the integer group, right? Who went to my school, people who live in Asheville, maybe places I've lived before, make connections there. So when the recruiter sees, oh, you've got 10 connections to the integer group, maybe you get the culture, it's always about what's the cultural fit. You gotta uh, replace the things that we're losing when we go in a more socially distant or isolated remote based work environment, which I think is really going to be a trend that's not going to go away. I'm fascinated, as a side note, to see what happens in 3 to 6 months. Amazon called it really early. Everyone's going remote for a month. No one come back to the office. We'll see if that's extended. We'll also see what happens to their productivity. Right? We're kind of living through this grand experiment of, can most of our society, or 1/3 of Americans, actually be remote, and we're going to see what happens. And I don't think it's going to go away.
Yes, I agree. I think it's a really interesting, and not that it's the best circumstances for everyone to be forced to adopt new digital
Hmm.
tools that a lot of companies have, in my opinion, been really lax on adopting
Hmm.
up to this point. But Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see productivity as well, because what happens with productivity in the digital space, because there's also a lot of mental health concerns, I think, that people are
Hmm.
struggling with. And so I've noticed that my productivity in general has definitely gone down in the last week, because I'm concerned about trying to take care of my mom and what's going on with
Hmm.
my brother in LA and
Yeah.
those types of things. So I am encouraged by the environment that seems to be really being, fostered, which is just inclusion and a little bit of patience, as I'm sure
Hmm.
a lot of C-suite executives and business owners are having a really tough time mentally themselves, let alone having to manage their team, which is now working in a new environment. So if that's you, props. We're going to get through this
Hmm.
together, and
Hmm.
make sure to reach out to Jeff if you feel called to on LinkedIn. So it's Jeff
Yep.
Kaplan, and your last name is spelled Kaplan. And on LinkedIn, your Jeff's little URL is Jeff Dude. So you can find him either way. I know him as
Hmm.
Jeff Dude.
That's been my nickname since high school. And in college, I created this profile. And someone told me once, if you're being a real serious job seeker, you should change that. I mean, I get it. I wasn't like, it's like Gator Fan 100. It's Jeff, dude. It's probably the best nickname. It's not the worst either. Don't make it like your AIM screen name for middle school or anything. You can have a little fun with your profile name.
Yeah, I think it's great because people know you as that, and
Yeah.
if we were talking about an Instagram, handle,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the advice would be don't change it, when people know
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
So, okay, well,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jeff. Is there anything else
Yeah.
that you'd like to share with the listeners today in terms of what y'all have coming up, with Venture Asheville? Any initiatives that the Chamber of Commerce has that you want us to know about?
Yeah, we're doing a series of webinars right now all about this, the crisis we're going through. So today it's all about unemployment and employment law. Tomorrow is going to be about finances. Wednesday is going to be about business continuity. And all that's found in the Chamber's website, or even just facebook.com/Asheville Chamber. You'll find all the events. They upgraded the Zoom to have 500 people log in at once. And if you can't make it in, they're going to be recorded and posted on the coronavirus resource webpage on the Chamber's website. The Chamber is an economic development group, is in constant contact with the city and the county. And I mean, people on state level, the Department of Commerce, it really is probably one of the most cohesive sources of information regarding business information in our area during this crisis.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So the Asheville Chamber of Commerce website will have those videos up afterwards if you
Mhm.
missed the live video, and those will be up, as Jeff mentioned, the week of March 23rd, 2020. So, all right, awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Taking the time. I'm gonna let you go because I know you got back-to-back meetings today.
I got to
But
get to my webinar and see what's happening about unemployment law and employment law.
yeah, so exciting. I'll be there too.
All right,
Well,
great.
great to see you, and have a good rest of
Likewise.
your day.
Thanks. See you, Amber. Bye.